All right, let's talk about the Sedona 2017 Vedic Astrology Conference on both an interpersonal and an informational level. So you get my experience of the whole thing in terms of people and in terms of the astrological ideas that I picked up. As you could probably see from all the pictures that have already been put out on the internet, it was a pretty good time. And that was really nice for me because it gave me a chance to be forgiven and healed and feel loved and accepted by all these great people, really. So I really actually feel like I actually made real friends. And there's really not a whole lot that's more valuable and important than that. The whole thing kind of starts around this man, Kapil, the powerhouse Raj. He's the guy who told me to come to this conference. He's the guy who got me to go there. He's kind of like the life of all the parties. Then there's this man, Arjun, Dr. Sweetheart Pai, and his accomplished Laddu Baba, lightsaber-wielding scientific team. And of course, the gem in the ring of that whole group, the exalted and erudite Eve. Such an amazing pleasure to meet all of them in a real way, person to person, face to face. Just can't describe how nice it felt. Now, we also had special spontaneous visits. It's often supposed to happen in Sedona, right? You get visited. And these visits were accompanied by transvortexical, multidimensional knowledge downloads delivered by Ernst, the Fountain of Wisdom Wilhelm, and his Sampradaya crew, including Ryan, the wrestler Kurzak, Shristi, the supercoding superstar, Channing the Charming, Nicole, the mountain mermaid Brenny, and Corey, the skate punk savant Dowds. What a great group. These guys just came in like the rishis coming to a sangha surrounded by the entourage and just started delivering discourses and knowledge, really literal knowledge downloads. And then, of course, there's the third group of wonderful people, the respected elders of the conference and of the ACVA. These people were so warm and welcoming. Gotta say, Dennis Harness, there's no coincidence that a conference this good was put on by a man this good. It's just graceful and sweet and well-mannered and well-meaning and well-intentioned and calm, even in the midst of all this stress. So it was really, really refreshing to be around Dennis Harness, Dr. D, and then Comilla Sutton, the famous movie star of astrology. Just majestic and beautiful and deep. Joni Petrie, my friend from Texas. She can talk with the best of them and she can walk with the best of them. All of these superstar elders of the astrological community don't need to be nice to little upstarts. But these guys were really nice, really, really warm, really welcoming. It really felt great. And then there's the fourth group of people at the conference, really, the most important group, all the attendees. These attendees were really enthusiastic, attentive, and appreciative, and that really made the difference. Got to point out two that were super, super special to me. There was Mike, the Chinese tea master, who was just so selfless. What a sevak, what a servant of humanity. He was just going around and supplying everybody with hot medicinal Chinese teas and dried fruits and all kinds of wonderful things. And just such a pure, pure person with a huge smile. And my God, we can't forget Oleg, the Wizard of Cards, Ivanov, life of the party and another super pure, super beautiful soul. And also, gotta mention Lakshmi Mukunda. What a great fortune to meet Lakshmi Mukunda. She's a brilliant lady, very fluent in Sanskrit grammar, and that's a big help for a reason that segues us into part 2, because we found some new Sanskrit material that needs some good translations. So now I want to tell you about the informational content that I took away from the conference, the astrological stuff, the ideas. My favorite ideas, I had 4, I think, that were my favorite. One of them came from Ernst Willem. It's about the Dhatu Mula Jiva structure and the nakshatras and how to use that in interpretation. Another 2 came from Dr. Arjun Pai and his team. One was the Tribhag Sundari Das Vichar. I'll tell you about that. And the other is, like from Eve mostly, the Terra Bala Dasha Triage, I'm going to call it. And then the 4th new amazing idea, I'll save that for last, is from Ernst and Srishti Willem about what I call the Nakshatra Sutra of Taittiriya Brahmana. So let me just explain these 4 things to you a bit before I sign off here. Let's talk about Ernst Willem's Dhatu Mula Jiva structure. He explained to me that the nakshatras have these 3 types. Dhatu, which means like a metal or a crystal. Mula, which means something that has roots like a plant. And Jiva, it means something that's alive, so an animal. So the nakshatras have these 3 types. Some are like crystals, some are like plants, and some are like animals. You just start with Ashwini, with Dhatu, and then you just go Dhatu Mula Jiva, Dhatu Mula Jiva, Dhatu Mula Jiva. So Ashwini is Dhatu, Bharani is Mula, Kritika is Jiva, and then just continue. So what he said was, each one of these types has its own psychology. The Dhatu, the crystal, is the one that gets itself very strong and compacted and hard. And by preparing itself, by strengthening itself, by organizing itself and structuring itself really well. So Dhatu nakshatras have that psychological tendency towards being structured and prepared. Mula nakshatras, they're like plants. They're seeking the benefit of the light, and they move where they need to move. They kind of get out of the way of trouble and move towards the spot that they want to be in. And the animal types are the ones who employ the dominance and submission. They either dominate a situation and take control of it, or they submit to a situation and get benefited by it. So you got those 3 nakshatra types, and then he said, look at the moon. The type of nakshatra that the moon is in will show you the type of psychology that naturally functions in a healthy manner for the individual. So if you have the moon in a Dhatu nakshatra, then it means that being prepared and structured, etc., is a very healthy part of your mental function and therefore of your practical life, and it's a very good asset for you. If you have the moon in a Mula nakshatra, then being adaptable is a very good part of what makes you succeed. And if you have the moon in a Jiva nakshatra, then being able to dominate at the right times and submit at the right times is a very healthy and important part of what lets you function well in the world, right? Then he said, look at Ketu. Ketu will show the pathology. He said Ketu will show where we are a little bit messed up. So, and then Rahu is going to show how you will heal that mess up that Ketu indicates. So, for example, if you have Ketu in a Dhatu nakshatra, a mineral nakshatra, then you're overly obsessed with being prepared and being strong, and you never really feel like you're quite ready to take on the thing that comes at you. And then if your Rahu is in the Jiva nakshatra as a result, then you have to cure that by just actually going out and doing the thing. Either dominate it, take control and do it, or sit back and let somebody else do it and show you how it's done. But don't just sit around and keep preparing. Like that. And so Dhatu has if that Ketu is in a Dhatu nakshatra, then it makes you overly obsessed with being prepared. If Ketu is in a Mula nakshatra, then it makes you adapt too quickly, not stay, not stick it out. And if Ketu is in a Person nakshatra, then you submit when you should be dominating, and you dominate when you should be submitting. So that was really, really useful idea. It sounds really interesting to me. I want to apply it to charts. I applied it to my own chart. It made a tremendous amount of sense. Actually, Ernst did it for me right there. And it's definitely something I want to work on more with some of my family members, see if it works well. If so, do it with some clients. So that's the first idea. Now the second idea, the Tribhaga Sundari Dash Vichar. I've given this little Sanskrit title for the pleasure of Dr. Arjun Pai and his team. What it really means is the way of examining a dasha by dividing it into 3 segments. So what he taught me was, if your dasha is, let's say, Jupiter, then you go to the first Jupiter ruled, we're talking about Vimshottari Dasha, right? So you go to the first Jupiter Vimshottari Dasha ruled nakshatra from your moon, and you put the ascendant in that nakshatra, and then read the position of Jupiter in relation to that nakshatra. I would assume especially Jupiter, or maybe all the other planets, to see how the bhuktis go. And then that's for the first third of the dasha. Then for the second third of the dasha, you move to the second Jupiter-ruled nakshatra and make that the ascendant. And the third third of the dasha, you move the ascendant, progress it all the way to the third Jupiter-ruled nakshatra. That's definitely something I also really want to test out, try to get the hang of, see how I like it. And if it works good, I definitely want to use it with all of you in my readings. The third idea, I got this mainly from Eve, but many people were talking about it. Third idea is the Terra Bala, right? And I call this the Terra Bala Dasha triage. And triage is like when there's a lot of wounded or sick people coming in at once, and you have to kind of sort the whole mess out in the beginning. So I feel like the Terra Bala approach that I learned from Eve and others, it's really helpful to get a triage on the dasha, just to get your pulse on whether this is going good or difficult, and what kind of good or difficult. So the Terra Bala system, you can look it up. It's just that you count from the moon's nakshatra, from your moon's nakshatra, you count how many nakshatras to the position of another planet, let's say. And so if it's, for example, 2, 4, 6, 8, or 9 nakshatras away, then that's some variety of a very good. You start by counting the first one as 1. Like if your moon's in Rohini, then Rohini is 1. And then count forward from there. 2, 4, 6, and 8, and 9 are good. And the other ones are going to be difficult in various ways. So I thought that was another very interesting technique that deserves a lot of research on my part. Finally, probably I think the most exciting thing that I came away with from the conference in terms of knowledge and information. We're sitting there on the first day that Ernst showed up. We're outside the lobby in the back on the porch. And I finally met Shrishti, who's helped me so much with the computers and the installations and things. And I said, what's new? And she said, well, we're translating the Taittiriya Brahmana section on the nakshatras. And I thought, wow, that's cool. And then we talked about it more. And so it wound up that Ernst, Shrishti, Eve, and myself are getting involved in this project to really do a full and good translation of this Nakshatra Sutra in Taittiriya Brahmana. Now, just to let you know how monumental this really is. When you talk about nakshatras, they go all the way back to the Vedic times. Nakshatras are really Vedic astrology, right? But the source material that we have on nakshatras from the Vedas is extremely minimal. It's just a correlation between the god and a nakshatra. And by knowing the mythology of the god, you know a lot, everything you need to know about the nakshatra. Later on, some name comes along for the nakshatra to help you focus in on how the god is operating there in that nakshatra. And each constellation makes a little picture in the sky and gets symbolized in a certain way, like as a drum or a sword or a flower or something like that. And that's supposed to help you understand what's going on in this nakshatra. Along the way, we have later texts about astrology telling us about muhurtas, and we can derive a lot of information about the nakshatras by studying how they work in muhurtas. So you can understand the 6 categories of nakshatras and so forth. And there's some text telling us that the moon in certain nakshatras operates a certain way, so we get more information. But basically, the core of the information that we have about nakshatras boils down to that. We have 3 words on each nakshatra. You know, we have the name of the god, the name of the nakshatra, and the kind of symbol, right? Besides the stuff that comes from the muhurta and those 3 words, everything else is just people's ideas. You might even say crazy ideas, or at least questionable ideas, right? But with this Nakshatra Sutra from Taittiriya Brahmana, which is very, very old, here we go back to the Vedas themselves to get really authentic ideas about the nakshatras. What did the rishis themselves think when they thought about the nakshatras? Each one of the lines in this sutra gives us another 4 words about each nakshatra. So it's more than doubling the amount of information that we will have about the nakshatras when it's properly translated. So we're setting to work on it now. I'll just give you like an example of the first one. Agnehe Kritika Shukram Prastat Jyotir Avastat. So it's telling you that you have a nakshatra that belongs to Agni or fire, and it's called Kritika, the cutter. It requires Shukra, energy, and then Avastat, it delivers Jyoti, light. We're going to explore this and write about it and publish a text on this Nakshatra Sutra explaining these symbols and how they reveal what these nakshatras do and how to use them in interpretive context in astrology. So, Sedona Vedic Astrology Conference 2017, absolutely fantastic. Most importantly, I feel like I made a lot of good friends, had a good time, and came away with a lot of great knowledge. So I'm really hoping that, Dennis, you're not going to give up on doing this, because you're the man to do this. And you can count on me being there next year. Thank you so much. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Stick around.